Welcome to the Gift Club again. In this episode, I will be talking to Lia Grimberg from Canada. Lia is a loyalty and data-driven marketing expert spanning 20 years of experience in the retail and financial services industries. With 5 years under her belt at Loyalty One, who run Canada's most recognised loyalty programme, and most recently at Loblaw Companies, a leading grocer in Canada, as Senior Director for Loyalty and Consumer Insights. Lia and I will be chatting about what data loyalty teams can look for to determine disloyalty, to innovative ways a grocery store can prepare for less predictable behaviour in the times that we currently live in. So it's great to have you. Join me, Lia.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. So let's get straight into the first question. So
let's do it.
What insights should retail loyalty teams look out for to preempt a customer who is erring towards disloyalty?
What I would say is a particular loyalty team or a data analytics team would need to build a analytics model. And what the inputs are in that analytics model would really truly depend on what the data tells you. It could look anything like somebody emptying their entire bank account of loyalty points. It could look like a descent in their spend or a descent in their frequency of shopping. But essentially, it is really truly their own data that will precipitate and will indicate somebody's willingness to leave you. So what you want to do is you want to take a pool of customers that have recently left, and what that definition of recently left will vary depending on what kind of retailer you are, whether it's high frequency, low frequency, etc. And then model their behavior in the months leading up to it and see what kind of behavior are variables that actually predict that ability to leave, and then overlay that kind of data and behavior over the existing pool of customers. That will allow you to kind of identify people who are kind of on their way out. But what you want to then do is test the kind of treatments you want to retain them. So what you want to be able to test is timing. When is the best time to actually reach out? Is it as soon as you start seeing the behavior? Is it a month before they're likely to leave? Is it a couple of weeks before? The kind of communication. What do you want to say to them without seeing Big Brotherly? Because that could potentially be very, very creepy. And then you also may want to test different incentives to get them to stay. Do you even need an incentive, or is an apology good enough, depending on whether they have had a service disruption? Or is it just a letter from the CEO that reminds them that they're a worthwhile and valuable customer? Or do you actually need some sort of an offer to get them to stay and to shop with you? So at the end of the day, what truly is the behavior that you're going to be able to see as a retailer. It really truly depends on the kind of behavior your customers are exhibiting.
Okay, cool. So how should a retailer then be leveraging their data to drive consumer behavior?
For sure. So it's 1.5 million questions, right? Data is so rich. And we are in the retail space not using the data to its utmost potential. Me being a marketer, I would say there's a ton of different uses, but there are obviously a lot of uses in merchandising and store planning, in operations, in absolutely every realm. But it's purely from a marketing perspective, the things that I want to understand the most is who are my best customers and who are my next best customers. And how I define my best customers truly needs to align with my objectives as a retailer. And my next best, what would it take for them to become my best? And creating different cohorts of customers. Do we need to increase their frequency? Do we need to increase their baskets? Do we need to increase their margin? And then I can use my data to then set goals for specific audiences and specific clusters of customers. And then I can test different treatments in terms of getting them to actually do the behavior I want them to do. And that can be on a very individual level. which that's the beauty of data, is that I can get very, very personal, and I can even create one-to-one personalized communications that drive behavior very specifically of even individual consumers.
Obviously, in normal times, trolleys would be, rattling around grocery stores and up and down aisles when times weren't as unpredictable. But there are innovative ways, I assume, that a grocery store should prepare for, or what are the innovative ways should a grocery store prepare to use data, knowing that consumer behaviour is now less predictable than it was?
On one hand, it is less predictable. On the other hand, it is cyclical, as it is always. Grocery stores were lucky in the sense that they are deemed an essential service. So they remained open throughout all the waves of COVID. And the different behavior that we saw, what we want to be able to see if we can actually continue that kind of behavior, interestingly enough, other retailers were definitely not in that fortunate position. So what you need to figure out is what actually changed from a trend behavior during COVID. Because whether or not you were deemed essential, it makes a big difference. And what we want to do is understand what kind of behavior we want to persist versus what kind of behavior we want to curb. So again, it goes back to consumer behavior and what it is that you're trying to drive. So in the case of grocery, what you want to understand is, did you gain new customers? If so, then the name of the game is how do we make sure to retain those customers? Because we had a huge upsurge of people hoarding and stocking up for the first wave of the pandemic. So there was a whole wave of new customers that tried grocery stores for the first time. So it's about retaining those customers. Although the question being, do you even want to retain those customers, considering that they're cherry pickers and potentially not very profitable? And have you lost customers due to various market conditions? And did you lose them internally within the brand ecosystem, or did you lose them internally? And then the question is, how do you actually get them back? The biggest issue that a lot of grocery stores saw during the pandemic is that people became less price and promo sensitive, which means that our ability to actually drive change and drive behavior decreased, but eventually that'll come back. I truly believe that.
Also, boutique retailers or boutique brands, they are just coming into thinking about loyalty programs. We need one now. Essentially, these days, we need one because we've got to get our customers coming back after the shops open again, after everyone's stopped thinking about shopping online all the time. What would your sort of top line advice be for those those brands and retailers that don't have a loyalty program? What would your advice be, sort of in a very short sentence, of what they would need to think about straight away to even implement one?
So what I would say is a loyalty program provides a number of things. First and foremost, it's access to data. So currently, the way that data is structured within a retailer is that it's typically sitting in silos. And it's really difficult to connect everything to a single view of the customer, because you have contact data on one hand, then you have reams and reams and reams of purchase data, you have store and product information and inventory information, you have your website and website analytics data, and they're not necessarily connected. And so your way of actually relating to the customer and connecting to the customer in a more relevant sort of way is hindered, because you can have a record of Lia, as a for instance, hundreds and hundreds of times, but not necessarily see that that's one person interacting with you across all the different brand touch points. So loyalty program enables you to connect it to one number, which is my membership number. And it allows you to see all of my interactions with the brand to really truly determine what my engagement is. And that's what a loyalty data allows you to connect all those silos. So that's honestly the number one reason to have a loyalty program. It's not necessarily to drive that kind of loyalty, because data currently is the most valuable asset that a company has, and the most valuable competitive advantage. At the same time, what loyalty program does is it gives you a currency to then provide as an incentive to drive the kind of behavior you want from your customers. And it provides you a reason to speak to them on a regular basis about their points balance, about the different things that they can earn, about the different things that they can redeem. And it creates a platform for communication. So what I would say from a point of view of those smaller retailers, launching a loyalty program is definitely beneficial. What we've seen is a big pivot, obviously, towards e-com and curbside delivery and curbside pickups. That will probably diminish a little bit, but probably will have a new normal. But it allows you to truly understand and meet your customers where they're at. Because now you'll have the data to be able to connect, to understand how people are choosing to interact with you across all of your channels, whether it be in store, whether it be on across your social media channels, and whether it be online and e-commerce and pickup. And like I said, it provides you that currency to be able to use as a lever to drive the kind of behavior that you want.
Thank you so much for your time to chat to me, and
no problem.
Such solid insights as a true thought leader in the world of data-driven loyalty.
Thanks so much, Hadie.
No worries. Thanks very much, Lia.
Have a good day.